U.S. Central Command has now confirmed that 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action as part of ongoing operations with Epic Fury. This message came out from U.S. Central Command's official X page at 9:30 Eastern on March 1st, confirming that 3 members have been killed and 5 seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor injuries from shrapnel and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations are obviously still ongoing. This situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information till 24 hours after the next of kin notification. Clearly, this is combat, and this is a very dynamic and fluid situation, as U.S. Central Command alluded to. The IRGC is also making claims that it struck the USS Abraham Lincoln. However, that's been debunked by Central Command, saying the Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched didn't even come close. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. However, the Iranians did strike an oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is the Starlight tanker that is burning in the Strait of Hormuz. Potentially by now has sunk and completely stricken. So what we know from it, this is part of Iran's shadow fleet, one of their own ships that we've been tracking, and they reached out and struck it. On board were 15 crew members from India and 5, and they've been rescued by the Omanians. Several of them have been injured. Now, this post is coming from Mr. Pereira, which we talked about in one of our previous videos, who's an independent analyst in the region. And I think he makes some really good points that you didn't need to mine or provide kinetic strikes in the Strait of Hormuz, although this is clearly a kinetic strike, to make it untenable or unpassable. Because when you have the implications of insurance companies, they're insuring each one of these vessels for their passage, you quickly make any insurance company not willing to take the risk to transit oil and goods through this narrow choke point. And with millions of barrels passing through this each and every day, the ramifications obviously are going to hit on the global scale. Now, the Starlight was a Pluin, probably butchering that. That's out of Oceania in the Pacific, a country that this ship was flagged under. However, it was sanctioned under the U.S. Treasury Department, the Foreign Assets Control, back in December for transporting Iranian petroleum. It's now being reported that the IRGC began broadcasting on the VHF channel 16, which is the Maritime Distress Channel, and calling frequency, that multiple ships received broadcasts from Iranian forces claiming that the Strait of Hormuz is closed and that no vessel is permitted to transit. The Maritime Information Control Center confirmed that no official notice had been issued to close it. However, the IRGC Navy clarified that it's open to all tankers except American vessels, despite the fact that they struck one of their own vessels, claiming that it had passed illegally through the strait. So quite ironic, but a telltale sign of just, again, how this is escalating and the chaos that is ensuing in the region. Now, the IRGC put out a 37-second video Sunday morning showing an F-4 and saying that they are going to attack U.S. bases with their F-4 Phantom jets. I mean, it's comical that this gets put out. And so it's interesting why they would put this out, if it's just a propaganda campaign trying to hold on to control in the region. But clearly an F-4, 1970s technology, maybe with a couple upgrades, is not going to fare very well against F-22s, F-35s, F-16s, F-18s, F-15Es. It's just not going to go great. And I guarantee you, there are hundreds of fighter pilots salivating at the opportunity to see an F-4, Iranian F-4 scramble and actually make it off the ground, because we have seen Israeli strikes already take out F-5s and F-4s that were holding short or were on an airfield trying to taxi, getting ready to taxi. So they can't even get off the ground when it comes down to it. So them putting out this video, again, it's just, it'd be an interesting psychological study. Again, is it grasping at straws? Because clearly they are not winning the offensive campaign when it comes to their own country and defending it. There definitely will be some case studies going on inside the military. But we saw this in Venezuela. Now we're seeing this in Iran. Both of those countries getting support from China and Russia with advanced surface-to-air missile systems, radar systems, etc. And it appears from what we're seeing so far, this hasn't been an issue for the U.S. or Israeli jets. Integrating cyberspace, low observable technology, that China's anti-stealth radar that they provided back in January hasn't been an issue. Maybe it's detected these stealth assets out there, and then they just can't connect the dots to being able to go out there and strike or defend against it. But nonetheless, again, it hasn't been a factor thus far. So again, this is obviously a continuing and developing situation. Drop any questions you might have down below. We'll try and get them answered as we continue to do this. And make sure you check out our newsletter, which is also down below and absolutely free. That way you can stay apprised of anything we're putting out there. And we'll see you next time.